Good evening from India and good afternoon to the UK, where the experts of today's show are from. And a big hello to all our viewers from all over the world. Welcome to the ninth episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. I'm Manobina Chakraborty, an inclusive education consultant. And my guests today are Ms. Sreepriya Bhowmik, an ACN specialist based in London in the UK, and Mr. Michael Purches, an education consultant specialized in SEND and inclusion. He's based in Leeds, UK. I'm delighted to have you on my show, Michael and Sreepriya. Thank you very much for being my guests today. We have a very interesting topic. Thank you. So we have a very interesting topic to discuss today, and that is addressing behavioral rigidity to improve cognitive flexibility. So before we start our discussion, may I request my esteemed guests to tell our viewers about their lives and work, please. Michael, could you start, please?
Okay, thank you, Manobina. Thank you for inviting me onto your show. It sounds like you've got a really good format here going to reach out to lots of professionals and parents around the globe by the sound of it. So well done for that. So thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the UK. I'm currently based in Leeds. I come from the southwest of England, a place called Cornwall. So I had a nice place to grow up in. I didn't like school though. I enjoyed the social side of school, but I didn't enjoy the learning. I left school with no qualifications that were noteworthy. I enjoyed the social side of school, but not the learning. I was lucky though. I did get a chance to go to a college locally, a sixth form college, and I was able to get some qualifications and managed to get a place at university. So I pulled my socks up quite quickly and maybe got sort of tuned into learning a bit more than I did at school. Went to university, then I went away for a while sailing in ships. I went in the Merchant Navy for a few years, gave me a time to reflect really, and thought, I'm going to be a teacher. And I suppose tied up in that was my own experience at school that wasn't a good one academically. So I thought, well, I'd like to get into this and maybe help to influence some young people. And like I was influenced, help them get on their way. And I was secondary trained as a secondary teacher, started off in a secondary school. But because of my experiences maybe and my own values and beliefs, I was always drawn to the children and young people that probably didn't engage in learning, had all the disadvantages, all the barriers to learning. I suppose I felt more of a leaning towards those. And that's why I ended up in special education. So just fast forward a little bit, I was a special school head teacher for almost 19 years, up until about 4 or 5 years ago. Then I thought, well, I'll take some time out. It's a very difficult job. You all know Manobina. Running a school is not easy. So I picked up on consultancy and training, and the favorite thing I do at the moment, my favorite thing is teacher training. I really enjoy it. I really love seeing young people developing the craft of teaching, and to see them mature into teachers ready for employment. It's a remarkable thing. So that gives me great joy. I think that's enough.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks very much, Michael. I'd love to know more about your experience in your long and successful career. But before that, Sreepriya, could you please tell us our viewers about yourself?
I'm Sreepriya. I'm originally from India, Kolkata to be very specific. People often link it with Mother Teresa and Satyajit Ray, Rabindranath Tagore. But yeah, I'm from that city. And similar to Michael, my secondary schooling experience was not very happy one. So I always realized one thing is the effect of teachers on students. Because when I moved to sixth form equivalent in India, my life changed because of the teachers. Before that, it was because of the teachers, it was quite a difficult one. And then it was because of the teachers.
It changed.
The things they said or the way they acted. Because can you hear me?
I can't hear Sreepriya properly. Michael, can you hear her?
No, she's broken up on me a bit there.
Okay. Yeah, because I can hear you both.
Okay. Please carry on.
Yeah. So one thing I really thank them for is they taught me a very valuable lesson, which is what not to do as a teacher. Because trainings, your experience, your own skill set teaches you what you want to do as a teacher, how you approach teaching, how you affect a child's life. But what you should never do as a teacher, what you should never say, how you should never approach a child who's struggling is an invaluable experience, which they taught me. So thanks to them. Yes, that time it was bad, but now as a teacher, yes, you have given me the right lesson. I think probably the most important lesson as a special educator, because often I see mainstream school things like this happening. But anyway, so then I came to UK to pursue, and I became a special. I became a special educator when way back in 1994 when I was visiting a special school in Kolkata as a part of an educational trip. And till the time I entered the premises, I was pretty sure that I will be an advertising and marketing professional like my father. And then I went there, got a big smile from a child with Down syndrome, and I felt like the Tom and and then that was it. I became a special educator, pursued my degree in education, did my specialist teacher training in India. Then I worked with an organization there, whoever I am today, because of those people who guided me then. And then I came to UK to do my master's in autism. Then I started working in a special school. Something was not right. I didn't feel that calling. And then I moved to independent school, which I never thought, in a secondary school, mainstream secondary school, which I never thought I would do. I joined there. I absolutely loved it because I realized one thing, that in a mainstream environment, these kids are often put in a position where they are actually not learning in their right environment. So they need people who has got the passion, who will understand them, who will be their spokesperson. In a mainstream setup more, because in special school, everybody is passionate about them. Everybody is, they're in the right environment. But in mainstream school, often they're like those lost little souls wandering in the corridor, not knowing what to do, where to do, how to do. Am I stupid? Am I crap? Am I thick? And they get bullied. So yeah. And then I became a Senko and the journey continued. After many years, I realized that hang on a minute, if I'm in a school, I cannot really reach out wide. So I started my own venture, British Education Support Services, or BESS, where I'm kind of spreading myself as a dyslexia assessor, special needs consultant for parents, doing lots of inset training for schools. And I'm also associated with school as a Senko, one of the leading independent schools as a Senko. And it's kind of, it's a kind of, this is my world. I've been in this field for 25 years now, and I don't know, I'll never be able to do anything else. I just love it.
That's amazing, Sreepriya. Thank you. I'd love to know more about your intervention programs during our session today. So we are supposed to talk about behavioral rigidity and cognitive flexibility. Behavioral rigidity refers to a person's difficulty maintaining appropriate behavior in new and unfamiliar situations. The opposite of rigidity would be flexibility, of course. And this flexibility enables a person to shift effortlessly from task to task, from topic to topic, or from one role to another. Children and young people who have learning differences, especially those with ASD or ADHD, generally get upset if their original plans or routines change due to an unexpected situation. This change hampers their learning to a great extent. Research says that this cognitive inflexibility is related to behavioral rigidity. Although behavioral rigidity belongs to the core symptoms of autism spectrum conditions, little is known about its underlying cognitive mechanisms. So, being a behavior specialist, what is your take on this, Michael?
It's a very complex issue, and I think it's a very frustrating one. Rigidity in young people for teachers, hugely challenging. Parents, hugely challenging. I think it's important that we try and find a structure or a framework or a list of strategies to try and reduce it. A lot of parents will say to me talk to me about meltdowns. Their child has a meltdown, and that can be at home, which is one thing. But when you're out at a McDonald's restaurant or in the middle of a supermarket, it is something that it really, really stresses parents. Understandably, it would be me. And then in schools, teachers having to support children like that, find it very frustrating. Teachers can throw their hands up. They look then towards exclusion or isolation. All of these things, which does the child no good at all. In fact, can set them back in terms of the way they feel about school and they feel about their teachers. So it's a serious thing. One of the things that I've come across, and I've found it really helpful in terms of supporting colleagues in schools, but also parents and new teachers that I'm involved in training. It's called the window of tolerance. Now, if anyone's watching, Google it. There's loads on it, but I'm happy, Manobina, if that's okay, just to give a bit of an outline about the window of tolerance. Is that okay?
Yes, very much so. Please.
Okay. So the window of tolerance, I suppose the clue's in the title, really, but it's about widening the comfort zone that most of us are in most of the time, because if we're comfortable, we are going to be more flexible in our behavior and our cognitive ability and our executive functioning, making decisions. Manobina just mentioned about, young people with rigidity often find it hard to move from one activity to another and transitions. And so the window of tolerance is around increasing our comfort zone. So if you imagine that we're all in a window, and for most of us, for us here today, the three of us, our window will be quite wide. We are adept at managing stressful situations, at having to change things very quickly, to change routine. So generally, we're calm, we're connected, we're regulated. We are regulating our emotions. For a lot of the children, the young we're talking about, that window though is very small. Their tolerance is very low. So if their window is already low, a slightest change in routine, something that doesn't go well for them, their window will collapse in on them, really. And there's two things that will happen, two broad things. One is that children, young people will become hypo-aroused, so they will just shut off, close down. If you're in a classroom, you might see them sat at the back, expressionless faces, as I said, just shut down. I think that's a really good way of describing it. Or as that window closes in on, they can become hyper aroused, and that's when we get those chaotic responses, outbursts, emotional outbursts, physical outbursts, verbal, the shouting, the screaming, and that's when the rigidness is there. Parents will often talk about meltdown, but they'll also say, my child is very stubborn. That's what's happened there. They're becoming very rigid in their behavior. So we as educators and parents need to come up with strategies to widen that window of tolerance as quickly as possible. So if you're in the supermarket and that window is closing, you want to start to open that before they throw themselves on the floor, start throwing tins and things around everyone and causing that scene. So we can talk about the strategies. I'm sure Sreepriya and you, Manobina, are going to come in with loads of these, but I'm thinking around personal coping strategies. If a young person has a personal coping strategy, that can start to push the window open a little bit more. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is one. I forget where I got this from, but just before this, I just found this in a pile of papers that I've got. And this was drawn up with a young person. And it's something that was with them on their desk, but you could have it in the home. You could take it with them when you go shopping. And the first line up here is, "I need to get calm." So we are wanting children and young people to start to recognize when that window's closing in on them. And they're starting to feel overwhelmed and anxious. For this young person's plan, the first thing to do is get a comfy seat. So that could be an area of the classroom, perhaps, an area at home where they can retreat to. I've seen in some primary school classrooms, lovely those little tent things that they've put up in the corner, little canopies over it, so the child can go in there and start to feel calm and relaxed. The second thing they need to do is to choose a calm down tool. We've all got those, haven't we? I don't know, manipulating a piece of blue tack, little twiddlies, some crayons to draw, all sorts of things. I'm always amazed in meetings, maybe if I'm droning on a bit and people are starting to, their window is starting to close because they're becoming intolerant of listening to me droning on. Many will pick up a pen and you see them doodling. So we've all got our strategies, haven't we, to regulate ourselves. So yes, and then the next one was set the timer. To put a limit on it, I think 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It will depend on the child. One of the things I noticed, I don't know if you've ever turned an egg timer up, but when you just by watching the sand drain into the bottom chamber, don't you find that relaxing and helping you to regulate in itself? And then the final one is get back to work, but that could be get back to the family meal table. That could be getting back to your friends, getting back to the activity you're doing in the community. On the other side of this one, I think this wasn't completed, and this one is a bit more basic, maybe. I think this was the top bit. I'll read it for you. It says self-control strategies. And then it's got some drawings done by the child. I'm trying to get that's it. Drawing dots on the hand, going for a run and blowing bubbles. So those are just some examples, really, of the sort of things. And I guess we could probably talk about how those have been used. One thing I would say is always try and develop them with the child, to get them to do the drawings or some of the writing. If a young person is unable to do that, I think that's down to us as adults, isn't it, who know the child best to try things out. Some of them will work, some of them won't. If they don't work, try something else. But I don't think we should, get too worried if they don't work, because often they don't. The children and young people always seem 1 or 2 steps ahead of us, don't they, really, and in terms of things like that. More strategies. Routines are important. If that window is, that window will implode a little bit if routines go awry. I think, Manobina, there's been a question from someone, isn't it? Shall we answer that in a moment about routines? Shall I just finish off my intro and then we can come back to that one? Visual supports, calendars, visual timetables, all those things so the young person knows what to expect. I've seen some being used where there's a symbol for surprise, that something is different going to happen, that we can't always have the same routine. I think it's a question mark, or it's a drawing of someone doing that to say it's a surprise and something new coming up. Explain to young people what's happening. That's another way when that window's closing, explain to them what's happening, give them some rationale. And it's reassuring, isn't it? Reassurance that it's okay, they're going to be okay, we're going to be okay. Manobina, I'm going to stop now because I'm noticing from your body language, you and Sreepriya, is that you've probably got something to add to that, and I don't want to hog the conversation.
All right, Michael. We are actually learning from you.
Oh, good, good.
And yes, we got. Yes, Sreepriya, please carry on.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to say that it was amazing to hear you, and it kind of, as another professional, it feels like, okay, yes, we are all on the same track. We all are thinking the same, and so it's just the way. As a secondary school Senko mainly, how I would be happy to share how I introduce this window of tolerance strategies in an inner London secondary school where kids can be quite difficult to deal with. So yeah, if it's okay, Manobina, can I just share something? Because if there are any professionals working and they might want to use some of these strategies, they can then probably do it.
Please.
Especially working with secondary school kids, one thing I've learned is they hold so much in themselves, inside them, that it just needs a tiny poke and it just goes boom. And often that boom is not socially appropriate. It can come through like swear words, kicking, throwing chairs, table, threats, and all those things will finally, before they have realized they've done it, the only thing they know, they've been excluded. And it's a constant fight about stopping that from happening. So one of the things I did was, in my setup, I had a small room, which was their calm down room with some bean bags and nothing else. So even if you're angry, if you want to throw anything, you can throw as a bean bag. That won't hurt anybody. It didn't have anything else. So some bean bags, crayons, squishy toys, and all those things were there. And another thing, often we realize that with secondary kids, we tend to give them, oh, you have got those emotional thermometers and all those things. If you're angry, red card. We forget that as secondary teenagers, they don't want to be seen as different. They don't want to use it. So they would rather use an inappropriate behavior because, first of all, that looks cool. And they're getting what they need, which means that I'm out of the class. So somehow, after a while, I kind of convinced the teachers, can we have a system where you do not ask them any question? Yeah. They come out, maybe they can have a small card or something which they can put on the table. No, it shouldn't be colorful or anything, or a non-verbal signal between you and the student. It might be as simple as doing this, which is kind of established between the teacher and the student. So nobody knows, and the boy leaves, but the child has to come to my office and get registered that I'm here now. So, and then I send an email. I used to send an email, me or any of the members of staff. One person would always be there. It was literally next to my office. So I was always right, me or somebody else. And I timetabled it. It's a hard work, but it's doable. And so we would send an email to the teacher. Yes, he's there. That's it. And then he would be there calming himself down. I had one student whom he was within the spectrum. And he had lots of frustration and anger. He would swear. Oh God, swearing competition, hey, he would be a winner. So I said, okay, you come here and whatever you want to say, just say. Oh no, I can't do that, miss, because it's not right thing. Well, you know that it's not right, but it's okay to vent it out to me because I want to send you for XP. And the first session, I was like literally sitting through and hearing it all go. But it was okay because it was his inner feeling that was, which he wanted to express. He didn't have any other socially acceptable way of doing it. So after 2 or 3 sessions, when he just came, blurted out all that he had in his vocabulary, it was fine. And then after that, 4th day, he said, I feel much better. I don't want to swear today. I said, fine, what do you want to do? Can Miss So-and-so go and get my work? I would sit with you and do it. Fine. So one of the teaching assistants went and no extra questions asked, nothing done. Went, got the work. We just did it together. Okay, it delayed my paperwork a bit. I had to sit after the school for a while, but it was worth it was worth it. So he completed the work, he gave it to the teacher, and slowly we kind of built it up. Done. I had another student when I first joined, he would be walking around the whole school building, not attending any lesson. And that was apparently absolutely okay. For me, it's not. So I told the head teacher, listen, he has to go back to school, classroom. He can't just go around, but we'll do it slowly. So he would, first, he would get points, positive behavior points for just entering the classroom and coming out. We built it up to 5 minutes. Fine, nothing. Nobody said anything. He would just enter. The teacher would, hi, how are you? And that's it. And he come. And believe me or not, within half term, he was sitting through the whole lesson. And that was the first time he had actually sat through the whole lesson since his primary school. And then he did his GCSE. Now he's in his 6th form. And
do you know what? What's just struck me there, Sreepriya, while you mentioned that, was about that young people, that they all need a champion, don't they? They need someone who's going to sit with them, listen to them, help them with strategies, talk it through. And it's about relationships. We're in a relationships business, aren't we? To put that tag onto it. And if you can form relationships with them, come up with those personal strategies, that is going to work. But it's difficult, particularly in a secondary school and teachers. I mean, I don't know what the accountability things are in India, Manobina, but in the UK, the accountability measures are really strong in terms of the scores on the doors at the end, exam results basically, and teachers and schools are under pressure to get those results. And so what happens is that the young people we're talking about, secondary schools, not all schools, I know some brilliant inclusive schools that cater for the needs brilliantly, but there are high exclusion rates with a high proportion of young people who've been excluded who have an underlying special educational need, and that's the difficulty. So the most inclusive schools are where relationships are strong and where leaders ensure that the general assumption of every single member of staff in that school is the assumption is that all children belong in our classrooms, all children belong in our school. So even the ones that you're talking about, Sreepriya, those very young people who can be disruptive and challenge, and as their window gets small, then they're going to that hyper arousal, overgo the chairs, overgo the door slamming, but we've got to still have that assumption that they belong in our school, and that we're not going to think, exactly, okay, let's get them out the door as soon as we can.
And it was there was one incident, I'll just quickly say. I was working with this really high-achieving child with ASD, but severe behavioral issues. And when we're putting in strategies, and I wanted to put some rewards in place, and he was in year 11 at that time. And I said, okay, so what would you like me to give you as a reward? And he said, Miss, I can tell you, but you won't laugh at me. I said, no, I'm not going to laugh at you. And you know what he wanted? He wanted smiley stickers and stars. And I said, are you sure? He said, Miss, from my primary school days, I always wanted to have some stickers and smileys and stars on my book, but I never got one. I was always kicked out of the class. So that's all he craved for. In year 11, I'm talking about a 15, 16-year-old big man, young man, asking for smileys. But he had a secret book, which he kept in my drawer, where he would put his stars. And he just loved it. And at the end of, I think he set himself a target of 15 stars, and he would get a chocolate bar from me. That's all he wanted.
So I just want to add here, when you're talking about relationships, when I was working in Scotland in secondary schools, autism unit. So there is a boy in S3. S3 is Scotland had this system. S3 means it's year 10, 9 or 10, year 10. So that boy lost both his parents. And then he started staying with his grandmother. And within a month's time, the grandmother also passed away. And he was sent to the respite. And he was coming to school somehow. And he was, of course, very depressed and frustrated, and used to use swearing words, and used to hit everybody. And all the time he was seen in the corridors. And we used to take him to the chill out room, that coming down room. We had one with all these bin bags and a couch and a punching bag and all. And no one used to talk to him at that point of time. And he used to come to school with some snack. And during the snack time, he used to shout, "Bananas, bananas, I want a banana." But there was no bananas in his bag. And I was asked, everybody was asked, not to give him any. But I disobeyed that instruction of my senior, and I gave him one. He was all right, but the very next day he came to me straight away and asked for a banana. I gave him another, and I used to give him a banana every day. And he used to sit with me and he used to work with me. And after completion of the work, he used to use those F words and S words and go away and all. And after a couple of months, or 4 months, I think we came back to India. And on the day of my farewell, he came, gave me a tight hug, and said to me, "Take care."
Oh.
So I thought, and I still miss him. The poor boy lost both his parents and his grandmother, and there was no one to take care of him as a family.
That's really nice, that is. And I'm just thinking about your senior staff had told people not to talk to him and not to give him a banana when...
Because he was very aggressive at that point of time, and it should not be his habit to ask for a banana from a member of staff every day. He should be happy with what he has. Maybe that was the logic, or that was the thought process behind it. But I'm a mother as well, and I had that motherly instinct in me, and I couldn't help myself.
I think...
oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Sreepriya.
One thing about this whole topic that we're discussing today is I always followed one principle of pick the battle you want to fight. Don't make too many demands. What we think as a logical demand from a child, if you break it down into small tasks, you will see that we are actually asking them a huge amount of compromises. What in our logical mind or a neurotypical mind might think that, oh, I'm just asking you to, just change your t-shirt. Why do you want to wear the same t-shirt every day? Why do we wear the same jeans? Why do we prefer the same side of the sofa at home? Why do we all have a designated place to sit in our dining table? Why? It's simply because it makes us comfortable. So first ask yourself, is it really important to change this? What is our main... If I'm thinking about, okay, I'm going to the supermarket and I don't want any meltdown. Okay, what are the things that can come into it? What are the times I can go with my child without making sure that he's overwhelmed? Maybe I'll choose a quiet period of time. Maybe before we go, we make a list of the things that we are going to buy. Get him, make him part of the decision-making process. Give him the list. Give him the picture list that, okay, we have got it, tick, we have done it, and kind of follow. It's okay to follow the same route. It doesn't matter. Yes, it's difficult if they have changed the aisle, but again, if they have the visual tick list that the things they're going to buy, it really they wouldn't probably notice that change. The position has moved. So don't buy random things. If you want to buy random things, go at a different time and do it. But if you're going out for shopping with the child, probably it's easier for you also to be within the list, and it's easier for your child within the spectrum to fulfill the cognitive flexibility while being rigid.
See, actually, cognitive rigidity is all around us. How many times have we had perfectly neurotypical individuals resist something? And the only logic they could offer was, I have never done it that way before, so I don't know how to do it in this way. So the difficulty lies not in the new ideas, but in escaping from the old one. It's not something I am saying. The noted English economist John Maynard Keynes said it once. So, of course, there is a certain comfort that comes from familiarity, and we all pray for that. So now, Michael, could you please come up with some real life examples, the way Sreepriya tried to tell us? And if you could just come up with some real life examples in your career and suggest some remediations to the parents and professionals who are struggling to deal with this inflexibility every day.
Yeah, I mean, I would always start with relationships from a school perspective, and I think what you were telling us, Manobina, was about that lad. You were a champion for him, and one of the things that I talk about a lot in terms of the schools are about check-ins with students, particularly secondary schools, where they're moving around to different classes throughout the day. So you know, a champion or a key worker, someone that they know well, check in with them in the morning, check up on them around lunchtime, and check out with them at the end of the day, and start to talk around, you know, what went well today. What have you got on your timetable tomorrow? Are there any hot spots? Are there any teachers that you don't get on so well with, you know, where you might need a little extra support? So I think it is about those. Check-ins are really, really important. In terms of in the home, I mean, I think the one around the shopping and being involved in the shopping list, putting it together, I think that is a really good idea, because it's about reassurance. You know, again, that window as it's coming in on you, you need some reassurance that it's okay, and you know, we're going to go to the shop. And I know at times that you do get anxious in the shop because of the noise or going down different aisles and different orders. But to say, okay, we're gonna actually go through this together and plan the route. That is gonna keep that window of tolerance open, isn't it? So I think planning it out. Routines. I know there was a thing, Manobina, about a question, wasn't there, about routines? I think somebody had asked you in advance that it's about routines, and is it okay to change routines? I would say yes, but do it, you know, very carefully and plan it, because we know that the window of tolerance remains, you know, bigger when there's routines, and we all like routines. I like routines, but I suppose we have a greater window of tolerance. So, you know, we don't, you know, kick off, so to speak, at something that other people might think a relatively minor thing. But so change routine. So I think, you know, maybe take a little bit of a detour on the way to school. Maybe take a different route to go and see a family friend. Just vary it. But talk about it in advance. Let's go this way rather than that way. I think, Sreepriya, you mentioned clothes. Sometimes, yeah, let's wear a different jumper today. How about a different jacket? You know, do that when the child is calm and connected. You know, don't try that if they're having a bit of a, you know, as we say, a meltdown or some sort of crisis. Do it when it's calm. So, you know, wear something different. Talk to them about what to wear in different weather. So maybe get some clothes out for them, a range of clothes. You know, what would you put in your rucksack if you're going out on a sunny day? What would you put in your rucksack if you're going out on a really cold winter's day or when it's raining? Things that, so it's just getting them to start thinking about things a little bit different and flexibly. It's not easy. Because if it was easy, we wouldn't be here talking about it, would we? But I think it's just those little minor steps. Give them lots of reassurance and give them lots of praise. You know, the boy that likes stickers. Not everyone likes stickers, but you know, it's whatever it is that you reward them for being flexible. Oh, we went to the supermarket today. We got all the things on our list. Brilliant. And because of that, I'm going to give you a, you know, and it could be something tangible, or it could be, you know, we're going to do something, a little bit of a treat for you, a little bit of an outing or something like that. So I think it's just tweaking the routines slightly and gradually and involving them in it. Let's do this differently. How could we do it differently? Problem solving games, problem solving games and activities, brilliant. Not everyone's going to say, here's a bit of wood and a bit of rope and a drum and you're going to sail across this river. That's my big extreme. But the point I'm making is, here's a problem to solve. This is what we've got. How shall we do it? Then there's more than one way to solve this particular problem. I was interviewing for teacher trainees the other day, and one of the students we asked them to bring along an artifact about how to teach something, and she brought along a pair of dice, and she talked about maths and number bonds, and you can do it very, very differently. Different numbers still add up to the same amount. But she talked about use for children with autism. A 4 and a 6 will make 10, but so will 2 5s. And it was just a very simple idea, I thought, about how to start introducing that sort of, we're talking executive function, aren't we? Really starting to see things in a different way. Thinking things through, coming up with different solutions, thinking about different perspectives. Does that answer what you asked, Manobina? I don't know. I went off on one a bit there, but as we do. But
parents come to me with this inflexibility issues, and I always ask them to adopt some cooperative behavior strategies, the way you said, and setting limits and offering choices. Offering choices is a good activity, I personally believe. So when children have choices, they learn to make decisions and think for themselves. And a good way to give a child choices is to offer a limited range of options. 2 is good. For example, it's lunchtime. Would you like to have rice with vegetables or a vegetable sandwich? These 2 options we can give. And a child can be given the opportunity to make choices every day. For example, what toys to play with, books to read, clothes to wear, etc. So it will help them to be flexible to some extent. I personally think so. So I generally suggest the parents to have this at home, to make a practice. And Sreepriya, would you like to add something to it?
Yes, with the choice thing, one thing I often did when it came to food, because with food, it's often the sensory issue comes in. They don't like the texture and all these things. So I personally say that if I'm trying to introduce a new texture or a new food, which we know that child might be aversive towards or something, then I would keep the safe food in front of the child and ask him to just maybe sniff it first day, maybe then just touch your lip, then maybe just touch it with your tongue without expecting anything more. Do not use too many languages to say why he should do it. Praise, even if he has touched it. With some kids it might be just, oh, you have touched it, well done, amazing. Next day maybe touch it for 2, maybe touch it twice. Slowly build on to the changes and do not try to change too many things. I remember many years back, I had one child who had this thing about particular texture for clothes. He didn't like anything else. And so mom was worried that, he doesn't want to wear anything else, blah, blah, blah. And then what we kind of figured out that we had that particular texture as a vest, inner layer. Okay. And then on top of it was something else, because he didn't like any other clothes touching the skin. So he was comfortable wearing one layer which was protecting his skin from the touch of any other weird thing. And then on top of it, he was happy to wear anything you give him. Otherwise, before even like freezing temperature, he would wear only that sleeveless cotton t-shirt. So slowly that building up tolerance on those things might be helpful. Having layers wouldn't make much difference in UK. So it's like throughout the year, we might get away by wearing layers. And often it's just that slowly they become tolerant of having it on top of them. And then maybe you might be pleasantly surprised after a while that because they're used to seeing it on their body, because we have to remember with children within the spectrum, they often see themselves as a whole. So kind of getting that feeling of completeness, that it is there on my body, it often can take a while for them to actually feel that, oh, it's on my body and I'm still feeling the same. It's not that they might using their difficulty to our advantage, is that because they cannot differentiate or transfer their learning that easily. It might be they'll get more tolerant about that texture after a few months, maybe a few years, or maybe never. Who knows? But it's worth giving it a try, because it had worked with few kids I'd worked with. And if I'm changing the routine, or if I'm going, see, when we talk about, oh, they don't like changes. If I'm driving on M25, how many times do we check the traffic update? How many roadblocks are there? We always plan the diversion. So I always feel that it's helpful if you always plan all these journey, shopping trip, anything as a family, and talk about all the other options that you can think of. Maybe the diverted route, or we'll try this. If this happens, then we'll making the child part of it, carrying out a conversation or showing it in pictures, maybe dropping the names of the places they might cross. It just helps them to build up that association. We often forget that they need that reassurance. If I'm driving it for them, every journey is unknown. Every situation is unknown. Every time they have to place themselves there and start learning from the very beginning. It's like some kids, they cannot do forward counting. What comes after 20, they'll start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 21. So for a child within the spectrum, often that is the case. They have to start all over again, because we might not realize, but it has changed. During my early days as a special teacher, once I had a proper tight slap and a hair pull from a student, and I had no clue why I got it. Then I realized I had a different watch in my hand, which made that beeping noise every half an hour or something. And that was there. And on top of it, the biggest mistake I did was I had chopped my hair off. So me as a person had changed completely. And another thing, I had real difficulty working with a child with autism. I had no clue why it was, but then I realized that he just didn't like my voice. Because I haven't got a very smooth voice. Mine was quite hoarse. So probably his sensory needs were not met because of the quality or the texture of my voice. So it's nothing personal. So if I'm trying to analyze the behavior as he doesn't want to work with me, so I'm a bad teacher. No, I'm not a bad teacher. Not that child is a bad child. It might be just that my voice is piercing for him. Whatever. Even with the accent.
I think that what's really interesting about that, Sreepriya, I think you've just highlighted the need for us all as educators, parents. We need almost a forensic analysis of young people and their behaviors. You know, what is it about us and about what we do that shrinks their window of tolerance? But I mean, one of the things that always frustrated me with staff in my school was they would say, so and so ran off or spat or kicked off for no reason. They'll say for no reason. There's always a reason. What they were saying was they hadn't identified the reason, and a little thing, the beep on your watch, or you change your hairstyle. I mean, I've heard of people who ladies who wore different perfume to school than they normally do, cause the young person have a meltdown. All sorts of things that we've got to take time to really work that out, and it's hard. And sadly, a lot of schools and that they don't have the time, or they don't know they have to do that. So they will continue to say so and so kicked off for no apparent reason, and they'll write that down on a record form. Reason that none. And it doesn't help us to if we're to produce those personal coping strategies and create a right environment for children and young people, we have to know what the reasons are. And they will vary on day to day, but it could be, the beep on a watch that you probably didn't think of for a while, and then it suddenly dawned on you, and you thought, oh gosh, and there's your answer.
Michael, one of my students broke my right arm for no reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah. he was standing behind me and twisted my right arm and broke it.
Ooh.
And later, I found out that he had an issue with his mother the previous night, and I resemble his mother.
Mm. Mm.
Okay,
There you
well,
go. There you go.
An 18-year-old young man, he broke my arm.
Behavior is a form of communication. We just need to find the language. Their language is different.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
like if I am in UK and it's like I'm teaching high achieving neurotypical kids, but only thing is that I'm teaching them in Chinese or in Bengali. Wouldn't make sense. So it just we have to identify what language are they speaking. And as a teacher, I think it's very important for us to self-reflect. We are not perfect. Yep. Unknowingly, we create problem for them. We with all good intentions, but we just did it wrong. Because we thought from an adult perspective, from what is acceptable in my mind. We have to give, because we have to remember, we have got the skill set to express ourselves, to say that I don't like coconut because I don't like it. And because I'm neurotypical, it's absolutely fine. But if it's an ASD child pushing coconut away, they would say, try coconut once, then you'll get your favorite chocolate. Why? I wouldn't go for a chocolate. I don't want chocolate. Thank you very much, but I won't try coconut. Neurotypical saying, accepted. So we have to really sometimes let it go. Just focus on their emotional well-being, their needs. Don't try to create remember one thing, it's our responsibility to prepare them for the world. World is never going to be, change for them. So we have to make sure that they can adapt. And they can only adapt happily when they have got the mechanism. If you want to introduce a change, slowly change it. Make them part of that change. Make them part of the process where they understand why. Often we talk too much when I'm trying to explain things to them.
I agree, Sreepriya. The only thing I would say, though, is I think sometimes, because we focus on the child, which is the right thing to do, because we are child-centered and we're finding out, but sometimes I think that can perpetuate the view, the message that it's an in-child problem. And I think sometimes we need to think about our classrooms, our schools, our family homes, our shopping centres, to adapt them to create an environment where children and young people who have that behavioural rigidity can cope and manage. So I go to my local supermarket on a Saturday morning, usually, because I like my routine. Always go on a Saturday morning, you see. But they have a quiet hour, so they reduce the sort of that horrible music stuff that they play in supermarkets. They've made an attempt to try and modify their environment so that families with children that are autistic can go and that sensory overload is a little bit less of a risk, I suppose. So I suppose it's about us adapting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I used to manage an autism support service in Leeds, the city of Leeds. It was a big service, and one of the things that we found out was that if we were going into schools focusing on an individual and doing some training for their teaching assistant, for instance, the impact of that wasn't great. If we went in and did whole school training that included the head teacher and the people that looked after the site and all the rest of it, we were more successful because there were signs and symbols around the school. There was quiet places. Some schools put carpet down. The schools could start to make those adaptations. So I think it's important to focus on the child, and we do that, and we'll be very, very good at that. But I suppose the challenge is trying to get those environments more autism friendly, isn't it?
I think it's not only with autism being autism friendly. I think some of the things that works for children with autism works for children with individuals with any form of disabilities.
Yeah.
As you rightly pointed out, I just hope that more and more senior leadership team actually attends SEN training. That will change the way schools work for SEN. It's always, Senko.
Needed in India.
teaching assistants go for training, but SLTs need to be more proactive in attending SEN training. I'll be very vocal about it, but I hope it's okay, because otherwise the whole school change wouldn't happen. And I used to often carry out lots of assemblies on SEN, undiagnosed conditions, and all those things. And just to create that awareness among the students that, okay, they might be coming to learning support department. That doesn't mean that they are not achieving anything. It's just, so we would have talk about all this, and it was quite interesting. After a while, some of my students actually wanted to lead the assembly, talking about their difficulties. What do they find difficult? Why do they get upset? And that was actually quite an eye-opening for the other students. And
excellent.
And I think if more schools take that approach on creating a whole school approach towards SEN, like all teachers, I had in my experience when a teacher very confidently said, "Oh, I delete all the emails I get from SEN department." And yeah, there are teachers like that, unfortunately, but we have to keep on pushing it. The change will be slow, but slow and steady.
Last year, sorry, Manobina.
The India scenario is very, very bad. The school heads and the teachers, the mainstream school teachers, really have nearly no idea about what SEN is. So it's a struggle, as I was sharing with you when I came here 10 years ago, came to this part of the country. I really didn't find any SEN department in any of the schools, and no diagnosis, no interaction with parents about a particular need. So we have a long way to go. Yes, of course, there are schools but it's a huge country. So a couple of schools here and a couple of schools there will not be able to make a big change. So
absolutely.
I walked in the UK as well. I walked in Scotland, and the scenario is much better there than India. But yes, we are trying our best. Let's hope for the best.
Remember the population that India has to cater to.
Yes. Yes, Michael. Yeah.
Last year, I led a project in the northwest of England. It was 8 secondary schools and 2 primary schools in a disadvantaged region of the northwest. And it was a successful project. We did reduce exclusions in all of the schools, but the schools where we reduced the most was where the head teachers and the other senior leaders were really, really behind it and wanted it to work. And they had that inclusive outlook. And I suppose that's what we're talking about, isn't it? We need, talking about the leaders you just mentioned, Sreepriya, who need SEN training. I think those head teachers in those schools that I was working with, they were those that were, met me from the start, sat down with me. We planned the work together. We decided on what the outcome measures were going to be. All those things. It was far more successful than going into schools and not even meeting the head teacher on the first day. Being sat with a year head, brilliant people, but didn't have the authority or the influence in the school to carry out the action. So it's to me, it's always about leadership and about the culture that's created. And Manobina, I'm sure you're creating a fantastic culture in your setup.
Trying our best, and yes, I need to learn a lot from you. We will be in touch in future as well. And actually,
can I just ask you something, because I'm quite interested to know. I know you have been carrying lots of online SEN lessons throughout the entire pandemic.
Yeah.
Another professional, I would really like you to share some of the things that you have been doing and how it has been, and not the challenges. We all know the challenges, but I would like to hear other things that has worked.
Okay, see, we have children, those who are severely to moderate autistic, and we really never thought that we'll be able to conduct online classes so successfully. But we tried and eventually succeeded. So we made it a point that a parent must sit with the child and participate in all the activities. So we have a 30-minute class. We prepare nice videos and colorful presentations and ask the parents to make use of household things to give this teaching and learning a multisensory approach. We ask them to have their child hear it, say it, touch it, and move with it in every lesson. Just an example, we ask the child to bring a squeeze-style ketchup bottle and write on a plate. Parent helps the child in the process and focuses the camera on the plate so that we can see it. Sometimes we ask them to get shaving cream if they have chocolate pudding in the refrigerator, etc., and they can write on them or with them. We ask the parent to bring a tray full of salt and having the child write words in this for those who have reading or writing differences. Our occupational therapist shows the exercise and guide the parent to help the child to follow him. Our communication therapist initiates a conversation and the child and parent participate in it. While teaching addition or subtraction, maybe we ask them to go to the kitchen and bring some cutleries and then ask them to count or deduct. So in this way, we make the whole household participate in a class. So we have 3 periods, 3 classes in a day, 30 minutes class. And either both the parents or one parent and whosoever is there, and all the things that are available in a household, they participate with all those things, and in this way we continue. And they are really doing well, and parents are now know how we teach, and now they understand that the teachers really do not have a magic wand. So it takes a lot of hard work and involvement. And now we are really working as a team. Previously, we used to make our IEPs and we used to call the parent to sign on it. But the involvement of teacher, parent, and student together was really not there. But now each one of us are involved in the process. And really, our children are doing a great job. I'll not say that we are doing something exceptional, but yes, our children and their parents are helping us, and together we are contributing in this teaching learning process. That much I can say.
That sounds incredible, because in terms of the work with parents and that partnership with parents and professionals, yes. Is that an outcome then that you didn't really foresee at the start of this, but actually that is the obvious benefit that well, not obvious at the start, but obvious now that that's a benefit that's come through?
Yes. No, it's really, it's while we are working in partnership. So are you not doing this in the UK? Online classes? Or
yeah, it is happening. Yes, it is happening to a greater or lesser degree. And some schools are doing live lessons, and some are sending work home or using other platforms. But I think the challenge, I'm a governor of a primary school in a very disadvantaged area. And the parental engagement and buy-in, the school are doing brilliant things to get more parents on board, but the challenge is getting parents involved. And you know, maybe you're working with a different cohort, a different socioeconomic group, I don't know, different area, but getting parent buy-in to that degree, it's variable. It's a big challenge. Sreepriya, I guess you'd say the same. Parental engagement.
Parental engagement can be quite difficult to achieve over here.
I also worked in a deprived area in Scotland for 3 years or so, and I can understand the difficulty what you might be facing. But yes, our parents in Saaransh, they are helping us a lot in this process, and we never really thought that we'll be able to provide them with therapies like occupational therapy, speech therapies, and all. But yes, somehow.
Well done.
Thank you.
I think Indian Jugaad came handy. Our video Jugaad came handy, and when I'm doing online lessons, similar things, I'm asking the parents, can you sit next to them? I do lots of I'm doing lots of online interventions, and sit with the child and just doing lots of sessions through activities. And all of a sudden, parents have also realized that, oh, I really don't need lots of expensive teaching resources. Resources are around us. I think because we come from an environment where everything is like expensive, and you have to like be very creative, and that creative streak of mine has come up again. And so trying to create resources with anything and everything, just a whiteboard and a pen is
in our therapy room we use a sari. A sari is a 5.5 meter long piece of cloth to make it a swing. So what is she is saying? She's understanding this actually very well.
I can see that because this is how we did it way back in 1990s.
Yes, but it's not much has changed in 2021.
Well,
but it's,
the thing is that is only coming handy now.
Yes,
the traditional resources are coming handy, and
parents do not have trampolines at home, so we ask them to place a mattress on the floor and make the child to jump on it. So in this way, we are trying to do something, because in our therapy setup in the school, we have trampolines, but parents do not have at home. And we really do not have big houses in India. So maybe a medium-sized rooms where they can put a mattress on the floor and make the child jump on it. So in this way, we are trying our best.
So the learning hasn't stopped.
Yes. And
Very
this conversation can go on and on, but it's already time to conclude. It's more than an hour. So if you have any concluding advice, Michael.
I think, well, I mean, I don't want to. We can't repeat the whole hour, can we? Unfortunately, it's been great, and I think it's been a fantastic conversation. I think it is planning for parents to plan some changes to routines. I think that would be the main thing for me in terms of what parents and families can do. Just make little small changes, a step at a time. I think that'd be my main tip for parents.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And Sreepriya, your concluding suggestions, please.
I would agree with Michael. Make sure that any changes you want to incorporate in your day-to-day life, plan it one step at a time. Let them be comfortable with that change, then introduce the next change. Do not try to make changes too quickly. Just let things settle down. That even if it has changed, nothing in the big wide world has changed. So only tiny little change is not really affecting a lot of things. So just take it one step at a time, make sure that has stabilized, then move on to the next change. Don't try to change everything like immediately one after the other. It has worked, so let's do it. No, it has worked one day doesn't necessarily mean that it will work the second day. So just give it some time to settle down, then plan the next change. And if you're doing anything where you can preempt a meltdown or any kind of difficult situation, make the child part of the plan. Go through all the various options that can happen. Every day, if you're going out for a walk or for a drive, maybe just a small diversion and give a reason why. Oh my God, I can see a puddle there. So let's go. Maybe if you know there's a puddle, just wear the shoe which you wouldn't want to be muddy. And you say, oh, I don't want this to be muddy. So can we just take this route? And maybe once they're comfortable knowing that the changes are not that difficult and there's a reason for the change, slowly they'll adapt to it. It works out. It takes time, but one step at a time, you'll be there.
And parents, try one of these as well. Get a piece of paper, do some writing, some drawing, colouring in, get the young person involved, and see where it goes. It might work one day, like you're right, Sreepriya. Things can work one day, and you think you've cracked it, and then it won't work the next day. Don't get downhearted by that. Just keep trying.
I think remember, the special educators do not have a magic wand. We would like to and trust us. The day there, we will be the first person to buy it. Give us time, trust, work with us. When parents work with us, we all are in it together. So every child matters.
We can plan some courses for parents and professionals in near future. Sreepriya, Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, happy to help. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Michael and Sreepriya. And I really had a very enriching time with both of you today. And as I said, I'm extremely keen to collaborate again in the near future.
Yeah, me too.
That's all for today. I will come back next Friday with the renowned autism expert from the UK, Dr. Anna Kennedy, OBE. The viewers may please send us questions, if any, to be discussed during that session. Till then, goodbye. Bye, Michael. Bye,
Bye now.
Sreepriya.
Good luck, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you.